Well, welcome back to Weather Nation. We had recently some record-breaking information come in. Hurricane Melissa actually produced the strongest wind gusts ever recorded in a tropical cyclone, around 252 miles per hour, just before making landfall in Jamaica. That information was recorded by a dropsonde released by some reconnaissance aircraft and recently confirmed to be accurate, showcasing the immense power within Melissa's inner core. Joining us today to talk about this is Andy Hazelton. He's a hurricane researcher at the University of Miami. So Andy, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate your time. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and the research you've been working on?
Yeah, so I'm a hurricane researcher at the University of Miami, CMUS. I work with NOAA. As part of that, I work on NOAA's computer models, the hurricane models like HAFS, but also participate in these flights to collect data, both for research and also the models. And so I was involved with the flights for Melissa, including this one where we got that record sonde processing the dropsonde data.
So take me through that moment there as the dropsonde was, going through Melissa's eye. You see that data point come in at such a strong wind gust. I think you said it might have even been off the charts of what you normally track there. What was that moment like when you saw that come in?
Yeah, it was pretty shocking because I heard from the back from the engineer who dropped it that there was a 172 knots, like something like 200 miles an hour right at the surface. So I knew based on where we dropped it, we were probably going to get some pretty extreme winds. It was kind of in that southeast eye wall where the peak was. And so, but certainly, but then as I was scrolling through the data and going through the quality control, seeing that value, 113 meters per second, 252 miles an hour. Normally my chart only goes to 100. So I was pretty shocked and, went to the raw data tab to look at how strong it actually was. And, I went through that sonde several different times to make sure it was as good before sending it out. And, it's since been confirmed to be accurate by some of the scientists in NCAR that help with that software.
So, some people at home may be thinking, hold on a second, why did this take so long to get verified? So what is that process like? How do they verify that information that comes from a dropsonde?
Well, it has to be looked at by experts who have sort of created the software and know what to look for to make sure that there's no discontinuities, no gaps or anything that would make the data sort of unphysical. And it was pretty clear because we started looking at this even just like the day after some dropsonde experts started looking at it, and kind of our initial indication was that it was good, but since then we've had experts that have really taken the time to go through it carefully and use different versions of the software to confirm it and things like that.
All right, we saw some really impressive mesovortices in the satellite data, at least. I know folks on those flights as well were kind of saying, wow, these are pretty incredible looking. What kind of role do you think those mesovortices may have played in getting that record-breaking wind gust?
I think they definitely played a part because those mesovortices, they're basically small scale vortices, small scale areas of enhanced spin in the eye wall. And we see these in high-end hurricanes, at different scales. Some of them are, a few miles like these. Some of them are really tiny, like, almost like tornado scale. We saw those in Hurricane Andrew. And, so basically they add on in spots to the background wind of the hurricane. So it's quite possible that the sonde, dropped through one of these in an area with sort of that enhanced spin. And certainly some of the damage reports that we've seen out of Jamaica suggest that with these, kind of this tornado-like damage.
Right, and speaking of those really intense winds, I mean, I was kind of waiting for the eye wall replacement to happen. I know a lot of folks were kind of expecting that. I don't know, it's kind of odd, isn't it, that we didn't have that cycle, and what role may have that played in these winds strengthening even further?
Yeah, it was definitely surprising because normally when you get a hurricane that gets up to strong Category 4, Category 5, it's only there for a little bit, and then it goes through that eye wall cycle where the inner eye wall collapses, a larger outer one forms, and maybe the storm gets bigger, and then sometimes it re-intensifies. But this storm never really went through that cycle. The initial eye wall basically just kept strengthening. We may have had what's called a merger where an outer eye wall did form, but instead of completely choking off the inner one, it sort of just merged in with the original one. And so the eye got a little bit bigger between Monday and Tuesday, but really it was still just a very compact and extremely intense hurricane. And so that was sort of changed the impacts in a couple ways, because it meant that further east of Jamaica didn't get as much impact because the storm was fairly small, but it meant that the area near landfall got some really, really extreme winds, as we saw.
Yeah, we had our field correspondent Josh Morgan was on the ground. He put a couple of the barometers out there, and his data was pretty interesting, showing those kind of wild fluctuations. And I know it's been hypothesized that Andrew may have had some of these mesovortices as well. Do you think we're getting to the point where we're understanding that those are part of these stronger hurricane structures?
Definitely, because in Andrew, we had I think Ted Fujita, the tornado expert, did some surveys and sort of confirmed those, and we've kind of seen them on radar, and so I think we're starting to see that these extreme hurricanes, this is definitely something that happens, and we're even starting to maybe collect measurements because I think Josh's data with those wild pressure fluctuations definitely suggests mesovortices.
Right, if we were able to sample, I don't know, the atmosphere throughout an entire hurricane, do you think we might be able to observe even stronger gusts in some of these higher end Category 5 storms?
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, we didn't fly through the area of the eye wall with the strongest winds at flight level, so it's certainly possible that there was something higher there. And these also, it's hard to tell. These are sometimes they're gusts, they fluctuate up and down, and so, but certainly I think as we collect more and more data in these high end hurricanes, we're going to see things like this. And this was pretty unique. This was an extreme one, but we saw similar, maybe slightly lower values in Milton last year and things like that. So, I think we're starting to understand more details about just how powerful some of these can be.
All right, thank you so much, Andy Hazelton, a hurricane researcher at the University of Miami. We appreciate you putting out that information in real time and joining us today to talk about it. And of course, we will keep you updated on the latest as that reanalysis is done on Melissa. So thank you again, Andy. We appreciate your time. We'll be right back after the break, talking more about your Western regional forecast and your top weather headlines. Stay with us.